Hey everybody, I haven't done a video in a while, so I thought that I'd run through some stuff. We've been asked about the CM3 a bit lately, the Freeplay CM3, so I'll talk about that. We got some other things. I'm looking down here, sorry, because I got a bunch of stuff in front of me that I'm not really prepared with what I'm going to talk about, but I have all this stuff that I'll just kind of go through. So yeah, let's talk about the CM3. The Freeplay CM3, we got these nice stickers. We can kind of go through that. We got these, and what we're doing with these is if you get a Freeplay 0, you kind of get the bottom half of this, and if you got a Freeplay CM3, you get the top half, and you can pop that there. You can pop your other one wherever you want, I guess, but it's kind of cool. I think it looks pretty nice. So here's the Freeplay CM3. I actually don't know if this one is got a good battery in it, but I'll try to boot it up while we're talking here. So we got some stuff to show off, and I know this has been shown in a couple places already. You might have even seen this yellow and purple Viking machine, but anyway, let's go through some stuff. We got the full-size USB in here, so that's really nice to be able to fit that in there. So you can take your Wi-Fi dongle or whatever you use, Bluetooth dongle, Ethernet, whatever, and just pop it in there. Yeah, it definitely sticks out slightly, but usually I think you're probably only going to be using Wi-Fi mostly to set things up every once in a while, or maybe when you're playing on your TV or something with the HDMI. Reminds me I didn't grab a HDMI adapter, but that's all right, you'll get the idea. So anyway, there's that. That's full size, pops in. You can use the wireless, no problem with that. Yeah, the point there is that the Compute Module 3 doesn't have any networking built in like a Raspberry Pi 3 would. So yeah, you might have to use that while you're doing it. And then you pop it out, and then it's a lot more portable like that. So we have that. We have right here, we have the mini HDMI port. Like I said, I don't grab a HDMI adapter, but you get the idea. You pop it in there, you plug it to your TV or your monitor or whatever, and you're good to go, play on the big screen. Here we have the charging port. So this one's charging only power in on that one, but this is the full-size USB port for plugging in USB. You can plug it into a hub or whatever. The other thing that's cool, and now I realized I booted this up, I probably don't want to take the SD card out of it. But anyway, it's booted up here, and we can just, you can see it's running RetroPie just like most people would run on here. But I guess I can shut it down while we're talking, and then I can show you how the SD card works. So it's all shut down now. You can kind of see it in there. See the Raspberry Pi Compute Module 3 in there. There's a heat sink on there. But then this is cool. You can just pop the SD card out of it. Whereas with the Freeplay 0, it's a lot harder to access the SD card because it's kind of internal to the machine. But anyway, this has this like spring-loaded. To be a little bit careful if you slide off of it, it can go shooting across the room or whatever. But anyway, just pops in and pops out. I don't know if you can hear it real well, but push it and it clicks, and that's that. It's in there. It's nice and flush. So what else do we have to talk about with the CM3? Well, I'll show you. This is what it looks like as, the circuit board of the DIY kit. You can see this is the Compute Module 3 here, and it will come with the Compute Module 3 built in, so you don't have to worry about that, but I'm just kind of showing you how it works as far as we're concerned. We make this circuit board, we source these from the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and then they just pop together, and you don't have to worry about it. Whereas with that, I don't have the whole Freeplay 0 here in front of me. Sorry, I keep cutting off my head. This isn't the best setup in this room, but anyway, with the Freeplay 0, you're talking about using a Raspberry Pi 0 like this, and stuff like the SD card is here, and then once it's built into there, it's really hard to access it. So this is kind of nice that way. And like I said, with the power of the Raspberry Pi 3, it's a little faster and everything. So that's nice. What else? I mean, kind of all the things that I talked about. It has the same LCD as the Freeplay 0, but it's got the compute module there. Here you get a little bit of a better look at the full-size USB port here. and the HDMI. You can see how that clicky SD card works there, and then the charging port here. And then you can see, I don't know if you know this, but we switched over at some point, kind of about when the Kickstarter started, to having just the 2 JST connectors on here. And in the shell, this shell I think isn't modified for this board. I think it was modified for 0, but you can kind of see, even though it's not perfect in there, you can kind of see those end up lining up here and here. So then you can just plug your batteries in. This isn't going to be the best thing, but you got to get the idea. They just plug right in there. What else about the Freeplay CM3? That could be it for now. I mean, as far as news goes, we're right at the position now where we're starting to get these manufactured. And that's a little bit of a process. When I say start, it means they have to still source all the materials, and they get all the parts, then they go into production. So right now, even today, we're building up some more of these kind of by hand. We have some like kind of a rudimentary pick and place machine that runs a open source software called OpenPNP. So we're using that to build up, I would say maybe 25 to 50 of these. Like we've been testing it, they work really well. Now we're going to do this early bird batch. If the 25 to 50 work really well, they'll be used for the early bird batch. If there's some problem with them, which I don't anticipate since we've been making a couple of these already, then we'd have to go to the manufacturing batch for those early birds. But I think that looks pretty good. We might be able to get some of those early birds out pretty soon here, maybe in a week or two if things go really well. And a little update on the Freeplay 0, those are being produced right now, and maybe in a week I think they'll have the production at the point where we'll give like a real quick yes or no, and then they'll finish up production and then send them all to us. So we get like a little bit of a, I think they're gonna take a couple off the production line and take some photos of them and do some tests on them, and then unless there's some crazy problem that we never saw before, then they'll just finish it up and ship them to us. So maybe mid-October we'll have those, hopefully. That'd be really nice, because I know they have a holiday that they're going on there, and if we don't get it done before the holiday, it might get pushed back till after the holiday, and we probably don't have a big control in that factor, but we'll see how that goes. So anyway, Freeplay CM3, everything's going A-okay with that, at least as far as I can tell. So what else do we have? As some of you guys know, we had a little bit of a hiccup with our batteries. So we have a whole bunch of these batteries, which are not the batteries that we wanted. So now we're selling these on our site as clearance batteries. And the deal with the clearance batteries is they still fit in here, which is nice. If they hadn't fit in the shell, I don't know what we would have done, because we would have been stuck with a bunch of batteries that were completely unusable. But they're not perfect. So usually when we're talking about a shell and we want to put batteries in it, the way that we recommend doing it is there's a little fin here and you snip that off, and then there's a little fin here that you snip off, and that's about it. And then the batteries fit in there pretty nice. Now with these clearance batteries, you can see, if I hold both of these at the same time, it's hard for me to hold both of them because I don't have more than 2 hands, but you can see this area here hasn't been cut out, but for the clearance batteries, we have to cut all this area out here. And we still leave that wall in there, but part of that wall has to come down. So what happens then is these batteries can fit in there, but they're pretty snug. So you can see that one goes in, and then we can stack a second one on top of it. And they are a little bit snug. The one thing is, because they're long and skinny, they have a lot of area here that in theory you could run the wires, but because they're long, it's a little bit tricky. But anyway, that's how they end up looking. And then you can see the top goes right on there. We have got some feedback about these that it is tricky to run the wires. You can see obviously this isn't a built system, it's just the back side of the shell. It is a little bit tricky to, after the shell is all closed up, to then come in and hook this in here and then wire it in there. So we're kind of working on that, like maybe you could run it this way instead, but then I don't know, you can't even see that. But anyway, the wire is just too short to run the battery this way, but it's a little bit too long to run it this way, and then you have this kind of hanging out here, so we're working on it. So that brings me to the batteries that we did want, which the good news is the batteries that we actually wanted showed up just real recently. I think it was at the end of last week maybe. And so here's the shell that I said has only got that fin cut off and that fin cut off. You can see how these fit in there. They fit real nice. You pop one in there, then you pop the other one on top of it, and then you close it up. That's real nice. And I would say, you think clearance batteries are going to be junky or whatever, but it's really just the shape that's different. I don't know if you can read this, but they're both 1,000 milliamp hour. So in theory, they're the same capacity. And, it's just this one's longer and skinnier, and this one's kind of shorter and fatter. And then when I say skinnier, they're really, really similar as far as, width this way. This one's slightly fatter, but it doesn't matter. They fit in the shell anyway. So that's the news. We're selling these for half the price of these because we realized this isn't what we wanted, and it's maybe not what you wanted because you have to cut more and it doesn't fit perfectly, where this one really fits nicely. So if you want to save a few bucks, get the clearance ones. If you want something that you have to do a little less cutting, go for the regular ones. So what else do I have to talk about here? Let's see, hammer headers. I've mentioned hammer headers before, and we went back and forth. This is going to be really hard to show you, but hammer headers kind of had the same problem as the batteries. We got a shipment of them, and then we realized that isn't what we expected to get. And hammer headers have been a little bit of a worse situation because we can't use the ones that we got. And we bought them through Alibaba, and they're kind of fighting us on it. They're not being real cool about letting us return them or anything like that, which is somewhat to be expected when we're sourcing products from China like that. But anyway, we did find ones that do work well, and the problem with these ones is that they're kind of expensive, really expensive compared to these ones. And like I said, this is the one that we didn't really like so much, and it's going to be really hard to see on the camera, but it's not hammerable. Like, this took me a lot of work to try to get it this far, and I wouldn't recommend that for any of you guys. It's just too much work. You have risk of breaking things, and even when it's done, it's not perfect. There's some of the pins got a little bit bent. It doesn't go together real nice. But what I will show you is our little jig, because now that we are able to source these are coming from the United States, so they don't take very long to get, but they're quite expensive compared to these ones from China. But I'll show you how this works. I don't know if you can see this or not. It's hard to focus here, I think. But if you look closely, this side of the pin has like little eyelets. It looks like the eye of a needle. And what happens is when you press them in to the Raspberry Pi Zero, and I'm sorry I don't have a Raspberry Pi Zero that doesn't have a header in it right now. I'm going to order some of those so we can do a little more testing. But we have tested this one. I'll guarantee you that. We have tested it. It works nicely. So what you do is you take this header and you put it on there and you hammer it in, and you're thinking, how am I going to hammer on some headers? That is a really stupid idea. So we have this jig, and what you do is you take your Pi that has no header on it at all. You pop it in this little jig. The jig comes as 2 plastic pieces and then these 2 little pins. So the first thing you do, I already have this one set up, is you set the little pins in there and you tap them into place, and that's really easy. And then you can see this one, you can even tell like these pins, they don't hammer in perfectly, but it doesn't matter. Even though they're not like a perfect 90-degree angle or whatever, it's not going to matter. You pop those in there, then you set your Raspberry Pi Zero on top. So it's going to look like this. except in your case, it's not going to have a header on it. Then you take the press fit header and you just set it on there. And these pins are long enough and they're skinny enough at the bottom that they'll just stay right in place unless you're like throwing it around or whatever. And then you come in here and you put the, it doesn't matter which way here actually, but you put this on here and it's a little bit of a snug fit and you got it right there. And what this does is it kind of keeps everything aligned. And you can see it kind of rests on top of the whole thing just like that. I don't know, there's kind of a funny glare on there, but anyway, it sits there like that. And then what you do is you set it on your hard surface, which my hand obviously is not a hard surface. And you come in here and you just tap back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and tap and tap and tapping until you keep watching it, watch both sides of it. I have a video of the one that we did. It's not this one, but I think I actually built it into a machine. That's why I don't have that one here. But I have a video of that, and maybe I'll cut to it, or maybe I'll make it in a separate YouTube video. But anyway, you keep tapping on it. You watch this side, you turn it and watch this side, you know, tap it a little bit and then look at it and see, because sometimes it'll be like tapping further in one end or the other, or one side or the other, and then you just keep going and going and going a little bit at a time, and then it's done. And you know, if you don't want to solder, it's a really great way of getting it all set up, and from everything we've seen, they work really well. And you know, there's going to be a lot of people out there that think, wow, you know, you're going to do it without soldering, that's really lame, and it's not going to make a good connection. But actually, it's not my research, but I've seen on, I don't know if any of you guys follow Hackaday, but there's a thread on Hackaday a while back that in the comment section, they kind of had this little war about if hammer headers or press fit headers are any good. And there's actually some documents out there that, because these are used in the automotive industry quite a bit, and they said for like high vibration areas, these can be actually a lot better than soldering. So obviously, when we're talking about something like this, we're not talking about high vibration, but we're also not talking about something that is getting you know, thrown around a lot or whatever. That I think these are going to be just fine for everything that you need them for building the Freeplay Zero. So I think it's a great option for anybody that doesn't want to solder or isn't used to soldering, or, you know, even we've seen already some that, you know, people solder their own and then, you know, they get a little bridge or something goes wrong and they can't fix it. So they end up buying a new Freeplay, or not new Freeplay Zero, but a new Pi Zero, which they're not so expensive, but this is really nice. And if you want to go this route, we are now selling these. So that's cool, I think. I mean, we mentioned these little USB dongles. We're also selling these now. We got a few of them just to see if people want them. So if you want those, we have those available. As far as Kickstarter goes, we're getting really close. Like maybe this week, we'll be sending out surveys for the, I think we called it the first production run of the Freeplay Zero kits. And we'll be really close to sending out the surveys for that, where you can make some choices and fill in your address and everything. So for any of you guys that back the Freeplay Zero as the first production run, watch for that. And then you'll have an option if you want to. You could go to our website if you want to, but it's a lot easier and you save on shipping if you wanted to do them kind of, you know, like add this to your Freeplay Zero DIY kit, or add one of these batteries, or for the Freeplay Zero, it doesn't make as much sense to add the little Wi-Fi dongles, but if you are planning on using just a regular Raspberry Pi Zero and not a W, then you might want to get one of these. We also have the HDMI adapters, and the USB adapters are coming with the Freeplay Zero kits. You know, they're just like I don't have one on me right now, but they're just a tiny little micro USB to regular USB adapter that's just for, you know, when you want to set stuff up or hook up your keyboard or whatever. So that's included in that kit. What else? I don't know. One thing that I would mention, one of the feedbacks that we've been receiving on the early bird guys, a couple people mentioned that they didn't realize that they would need a Y-wing or tri-wing screwdriver. So we got a few of those, and also we're trying to source the actual screws that go to screw your shell together. And the reason that is because if you buy a shell, a lot of places I think pretty much almost every place you get a shell from, they'll come with, most of the screws are going to be tri-wing screws, and it seems kind of hit and miss whether the shell that you buy, if they send you a screwdriver with it or not. So we're going to try to source the screws. They should be really cheap, but we'll throw them in with the kits if we can source those, because then you can use all Phillips screws and you don't have to worry about the tri-wing stuff. So that kind of wraps it up, I think. I don't know. I mean, definitely write in if you have any questions about anything, because I think I'll be doing another update on Kickstarter real soon, and I did a newsletter on freeplaytech.com. So if you want information on any of that stuff, or if you don't know where to find those things, just ask in the YouTube comments, or write in with whatever you want to know. I guess that's it for this video update. I haven't done one in a while, and I know it's been there's a lot going on, and it's hard to sit down and make time to make a video, especially when I'm like, oh, but there isn't anything to say about the CM3, but there is. I know there is, and people want to know, and it's just hard for me when I'm working on it every day. It seems like there's nothing, progress happens so slowly, but on your end of things, yeah, I mean, it's probably cool to see that and see how everything works with it. So yeah, keep in touch and let me know what you guys want to know more about. All right, see you guys.